I think I mentioned this earlier this week, that if Deshaun is suspended for the year, Cleveland has the cap space. They have no incentive to be bad this coming season because they don't have their draft pick next year. So there's no even silver lining to, we'll have a bad year. So, yeah, you got to bite the bullet and do it, even though from a team management standpoint, Coach, this is turning into an outright disaster. So starting next season, Deshaun Watson is $54 million against the cap each of the next 4 years. That is either the most or the second most expensive player in the NFL every single year for 23, 24, 25, 26. This year, they already have $25 million of their cap in Watson, Baker's dead money, and Jacoby Brissett. They would now be adding more money and bringing on Jimmy G, which is, again, not ideal, but the situation they have put themselves in. What is so baffling to me from a team management standpoint is this, Coach, that they let themselves get in this position. And by that I mean, it'd be one thing if they traded for Deshaun Watson, and after the trade, all of these horrible allegations came out. But that's not what happened. They knew going into it that at a minimum he was going to be suspended for a bulk of the season and potentially the entirety of the season. They went ahead with it, and now they seem to be scrambling. So if people want to argue, well, you know what, it's worth it because starting in 2023 you have Deshaun Watson, that's fine. But that doesn't give license to how they have not prepared for 2022. So yes, I think this would work for Jimmy G, but I don't think it's a justification for how poorly the Browns have handled this.
Yeah, the quarterback number this year is like one of those budget airlines when you keep adding up the different, carry-on fees and everything. The number is getting huge. You forgot Case Keenum, and then if you add Jimmy's number, I think the total would be somewhere around $41 million. So Case is like $2 million of dead money too. Yeah. So there's a bunch of things going on there that suddenly you look at it and like, all right, we're spending a significant amount of our cap for a guy that should be a front liner at $41 million, but that's not really what we're getting. Plus, we've got the $230 million invested in Deshaun that we're not going to see a return on. I don't think they went into the season thinking that it was going to be a season-long suspension. I imagine they felt it would be 6 games, 8 games, something like that. Jacoby would be a really good answer for that situation. Now, in terms of going to get Jimmy Garoppolo, if you have to trade for him at this point, now you're getting that $24 million salary. You're giving up another draft pick, and he hasn't practiced at all. He's still dealing with coming off the injury. There is going to still be a learning curve because the system isn't apples to apples, and he's going to be that much further behind. So it is a good answer. I like it as an answer, especially if it's a situation where Deshaun is gone all season. But even in the early part of the season, if they get him now, he's not going to be very effective. And who knows really where he is from an injury perspective at this point.
Yeah, so I don't like it for Jimmy G. I don't like it for the Browns. If I'm the Browns, I think Jacoby Brissett is my guy. I think he deserves a shot. And if Deshaun is suspended for 6 games, 10 games, 12 games, the whole year, I'm still rolling with Jacoby Brissett. I would like to see him play. Secondly, for Jimmy G, everything that you said, Coach, he would be behind Jacoby automatically. So when does he go in? If Jacoby gets hurt, if he struggles, so now Jimmy G is actually the 3rd string quarterback. I think that is a lose-lose situation for him. The best move for me, Nick, if I'm Jimmy G, is swallow a little bit of humble pie, have a slice, small slice, and be like, you know what? I'm going to go behind a great quarterback. And then next year, try to parlay playing very little into a starting job, just like Jameis did, just like Marcus Mariota did, just like Trubisky's trying to do. I assume he's going to start, but it's a little bit shaky in in Pittsburgh. So if I'm him, I'm looking around saying, where can I go if I have the opportunity? I'd rather sit behind a star. Yeah, the Rams would be a win. And I think the 49ers need to get him off that team.
So
That
like
would
I
be
get
perfect.
that. You know,
can go
listen,
in
you and
win
I,
games.
you and I have different philosophies on if you want to go be a backup versus stay a starter. So I understand what you're saying. I happen to disagree with it. If I want to be a starter, I want to find a place to start. And I think Jameis is the only one who has maybe actually successfully followed that path. I don't think Trubisky's going to be a starter, and Marcus Mariota is in a hold. You know, the Falcons are in a holding pattern right now, dealing with all the dead money on their. I get it, but I don't think he's now back to being a starter in this league. But can I just go back to Cleveland for a moment? Because it didn't have to be this. Like I said, we look at it differently. He's a starter the way Mac Jones was a Pro Bowler. Like, technically it's true, but when you drill down on it, you're like, oh, okay, not really true. But let me get back to Cleveland for a moment. Because I believe this could have worked. You go fly to Texas or Oklahoma or wherever Baker is months ago. Coach, you're Andrew Berry or Kevin Stefanski. You sit down with them. Say, Baker, here's the deal. We are going to try to get Deshaun Watson. We know that's going to upset you. However, we also know that Deshaun, at a minimum, is going to be suspended for around half the season, maybe the entirety of the season. You, through grit and, maybe an irrational commitment to playing games, hurt your own value last year because you didn't put a lot of good stuff on tape playing through injury. So let's help each other here. You stay on the team. You are going to be our starter for at least the first 6 to 8 games of the season, maybe the entirety of the season. You play well. If Deshaun's only suspended 6 weeks, we then have a month before the deadline to move you. If he's suspended the whole year, you will be a true free agent. We'd never franchise tag you because we're going to be paying Deshaun Watson. Even if we don't like each other, let's be rational actors here and work in both of our best interests. We're the best team you could be playing for. You know the system. Can we work together on that? That was available to them, and they never tried to walk down that path. That's what should have happened, and I don't know why they never attempted that.
Because he probably would have taken him by the cuff of their shirt and thrown him out of the house. You're gonna walk into the guy's house and say, "Hey, you played last year hurt. We owe you a guaranteed $19 million. We want you to do us a favor as we take your job and help us get through this phase, and then we'll decide who we trade you to."
Hold on.
Now, maybe if you walk in and say, "We'll give you a raise over the $19 million. We'll give you $25 million. We'll give you $30 million to get you through this." Okay, at that point, you can have the conversation.
Can I just say something real quick?
You're going to pay me
$19 million was a raise. Is Baker getting $19 million this year? No. Is he playing for a team as good as the Browns this year? No. So, again, you've got to sometimes convince people to remove emotions and act rationally. Baker Mayfield would have been better off doing that. And I don't think he's a dumb guy. I think at least they should have efforted that.
Well, look, we're going to see whether or not he's going to be better off doing that. He's got an opportunity now to go be a starter and to legitimately make his case going into free agency, where if he's in Cleveland, it's all going to be, well, it's the running game, it's the defense. They're making their way through with Baker. It will never be a narrative that he's winning the games for him. It'll always be a narrative that he's managing the process till Deshaun gets there, and that's not going to help your value in the open market.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.